Hi, everybody. Abby just said, "What am I looking at?" And I said, "The camera."
Prior to that, I said, "I'm really nervous. We haven't done a live in 6 months, and I'm concerned about being unedited. Like, this is very concerning to me. So who knows what could happen? But welcome back to Monthly Night Live. We finally got ourselves in order that we could sit down and do this again. Yeah. So it's exciting to be here, but I am a little nervous. Are you nervous?
No, I'm good.
Oh, he's just so comfortable in front of the camera.
There are only 3 acceptable answers to the marshmallow.
No, there's only one. Listen, y'all.
4, maybe 3, and 1.
I don't know. 1.
Yeah, you can eat them raw.
No, you can't. No, you can't. That's just
all of you that like them. All of you that like number 6, you just burn it one time, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I meant to do that."
Yeah, what is going on with the number 6 marshmallow? I'm sorry, love you, but if I wanted to eat a lump of coal, I'd eat a lump of coal. I wouldn't put it in the fire. So, but anyway, welcome. For those of you that are here for the very first time, we are so glad to have you here. We used to do this regularly.
We started it weekly. And that was too much.
Wasn't that silly? And I don't know how many of you were here for the very first live, but do you remember our very, very first one? No. Do you remember we were traveling? Wasn't it? We were traveling to New Mexico, and we stopped.
I just told you I don't remember it.
I feel like I'm probably going to tell it wrong, but I thought it was like we were traveling to New Mexico, and we stopped, and we just stopped in this like empty gas station parking lot, and it was late, and we did the whole thing from the truck because we were fast traveling. So it was early 2020, and we were making our way after the holidays, and that was our very first live, and we thought, we're going to do this every week. Like, we can do it. And then we were like, we can't do that. We're going to do it monthly, because monthly is totally doable. And then we did it monthly, and then one time we forgot to do it monthly, and then we forgot for 6 months to do it monthly.
But we're back.
We are back.
And we're glad to see so many people here. It's great to have you all back. Thanks for coming back. And it was short notice, too, because we just announced this morning that we were going to do it.
Yeah, and I even said, hey, are we doing this tonight? But so many of you are already chiming in, like what state you're coming from. And this is something we always love to do. It's 50 state bingo is what I used to call it, to see if we could get someone to chime in from every single state across the U.S. And wouldn't it be cool if we started going international? We can dream. But as we're settling in, we kind of just wanted to catch up a little bit on what we've been up to. Am I going to man this tonight?
Sure.
Oh, that's so sweet.
But we want to say, first of all, thanks so much for the super chat from Michael and Mickey. You guys are great.
We
miss you so much.
We miss you. You two are the best.
What? Don't be tugging on cords.
I'm just trying to get the computer.
That cord right there, everything runs into the computer from that cord. Just be careful. It's precarious.
Okay. Our professional setup here tonight. So, why don't I'll go ahead and I'll do the computer. We'll get back into our rhythm. Do you want to give a little update on where we are? As we kind of like to just chat a little bit as we wait for people to join.
So if you've been following along with the podcast, we visited Disney World a couple of weeks ago and have been making our way back north in Florida. And we're in Madison, Florida right now at the Full-Time Families rally, their family reunion that they do every year. Full-Time Families is a big group of full-time Rving families, and there are about 80 families here, and the kids are the 2 older kids are at the teen and tween night. They'll probably bust in the door during this at some point.
They will bust in.
And if you see like flashing light on the wall, that's because Henry's playing the Xbox up there.
Or that's the giant ring light. I'll try to hide it with my
with your head.
Yes, or a little bit.
So we're here for a little bit, and then we're slowly making our way north. We're going into Georgia. Eventually, the plan is Tennessee for my brother's wedding at the end of April, and we're kind of slow traveling up that way until then. But we've been booking all sorts of campgrounds. We're going to hit DC in the next few months, and Williamsburg, and get to do kind of some of that stuff, which is really up Abby's alley. And
yeah, a lot of old timey stuff. I'm very, very excited for. Another thing we kind of wanted to chat about as we get settled in. And yes, Jack and Ethan, I did text them, hey, when you come running in here, just know we're going to be live. So try not to be arguing with each other or say something that you wouldn't want, a few hundred people to hear you say. So we'll see how that goes. But we wanted to, as we're kind of just getting into the rhythm of all of this, we wanted to talk about something. And while we're talking about it, if you've got questions, feel free to start dropping them in here, and then I will grab them as the night goes on. But we wanted to talk and kind of wanted to share, because a lot of you have reached out to us over the last year or so asking for things like, why haven't you started a subscription? And a subscription is something like a Patreon. We would love to support you in that way. What's up? Why haven't you guys done something like that? And so Jason and I have talked a lot about that. Like, we've had a lot of conversations, and even has gone as far as to have had a meeting with Patreon about us doing something on their platform and working with them. And at the end of the day, we couldn't take that final step, because that final step to us sort of felt like it went against everything that we did when we started RV Miles. And this has nothing to do with anyone else that uses a subscription, because I think they're great. And I think they're a really great way. In fact, I pay into a podcast that is on Patreon, and I pay money in to support them and what they're doing. But for us, when we started RV Miles, it was always about providing news and content and an open door to the RV world that was inclusive and available to anyone who wanted to learn more, who just wanted to hang out and see what this was all about. And that we never want that information to only be accessible if you pay X amount of dollars. So we're probably not going to ever go forward with something like that, because it just doesn't feel like that's the business model that we ever really wanted to do. But we also really do want to honor those of you who've always been very interested in supporting us and who have been so fantastic at supporting us. And tonight, we just want to say the biggest way you could support our business, the biggest way you can help RV Miles grow, is by sharing RV Miles with those in your social circle. Go over to the RV Miles Facebook page and grab one of the reels. We've been creating an insane amount of reels lately. We've been working with Facebook to create an insane amount of reels. And one of the ways you could help support us is by sharing those reels that we're creating with your social community. It costs you nothing, but it does an amazing amount of good for our business. So that is all I think we have.
Another thing you can do is buy merchandise. And there's a couple questions about merchandise. Phyllis would like to know if we have any V-neck RV Miles tees, and I'm not quite sure. But if they're not, we can add them very, very easily. We can just swap out a regular to a V-neck because it's all print on demand. So we'll go and try to remember to take a look at that tonight and see if we can add a few ones in.
And if there's one in particular, like I'm obviously wearing one of the designs tonight, but if there was a particular design that you were asking about, just let me know, and I will be more than happy to turn that into a V-neck for you. Absolutely.
So again, thanks for supporting us. And if you have questions, this is sort of an Ask Us Anything. You can ask them in the comments and we'll pull them up. I do want to grab this here. Thank you so much. That's sharing our news videos or any other YouTube videos is another way you can help support us. If there's a video that you particular like, share it in a Facebook group or email it to somebody. That's always super helpful as well.
Grant would like to know, where is the merch? And the easiest way, Jason, one of Jason's favorite words is merch. And one of the easiest ways to see everything that we have is actually to just go to, isn't it just merch.rvmiles.com? And
yeah, hopefully that works.
Somebody try it.
Somebody try it.
I have no idea.
It used to work.
Y'all, we have had so many issues with our website. I can't even start it. But you could go there, and then that'll take you right into our store, and it'll show you everything that we have available. And coming soon, V-necks. And I saw some of you asking for tanks, so I'll do what I can. So we do, and it does not surprise me right off the bat that we have a question about fuel prices. I know that those are on everybody's mind right now. And clearly we've been talking a little bit about it. I thought I did. Sorry.
We honestly haven't gone to a fuel station in the last 4 days since it's really shut up. So, but it was, it was like,
I filled up on Thursday because I went and did a big grocery shop because we're about an hour away from a grocery store, and I paid $3.74 for gas, and diesel was $4.74 at the time. I'm sure it's gone up, but like Jason said, we haven't left the campground since Friday. So, and we probably won't for a while. We're doing a monthly where we're at right now, which the timing just kind of worked out that way. We've had this booked for several months now. And because it's kind of remote, we weren't planning on really going anywhere to begin with. So we're just kind of sitting down for the month of March.
Look, yes, Mr. Roboto, I accidentally cut my own hair a little too far, and now it needs some fixing. But yes, I did get a haircut. It looks okay right here, but there are some issues in the back that you can't see.
Didn't you also do something to your eyebrows too? Like you over trimmed an eyebrow?
My eyebrows look great. What are you talking about?
I thought, never mind.
Did I? Are they over?
Maybe I just didn't share that piece of information with you. I'm sorry. So we have a question here. Thinking of purchasing a new camper, do you think this is a good time to do that?
I do think, fuel prices or not, I do think that prices of RVs, and the industry feels this way as well, will begin to moderate later in the year. So after the summer selling season is when we'll really start to see the market begin to go back to normal a bit. Now, you can still find good deals here and there, so it's not like you should avoid it altogether. You could still shop, and I actually some family friends are shopping for an RV right now, and I was helping them the other night dig through pricing and to find out whether they were looking at a good deal or not. And they were the RV they were looking at was priced at, I think it was priced at like $60,000, and everywhere I was seeing it was priced closer to 80. And so it was a decent deal. So I think there are deals to be had, and there are going to be more deals to be had soon. This is prices are a little bit better now than they probably will be in a few weeks, even with fuel prices, because this is just the slow season in general. But I do think at some point this year will be a better time to buy, certainly, than last year.
We shall see. So we have another question. Hi from Louisiana. Do you have a favorite spot in Louisiana? We were just actually last night, I met someone who lives in Lafayette, and we were talking very much about our love for Louisiana. I'll let you answer one of our favorites.
We really like Louisiana state parks. So we really like Palmetto Island. We've been there a few times.
And the first time we were there, they had free laundry. The second time we were there, you did have to pay for it. But just to have a state park that even had laundry was pretty spectacular.
And St. Bernard is really cool since it's so close to New Orleans, and be able to $25 a night go into New Orleans 20 minutes away was really cool. But we were really kind of surprised by Shreveport.
Yes.
We had a really great time in Shreveport. Some really good food. Lots of cultural things. It was great.
One of the best restaurants we've ever been to was actually there. And we've talked about this place a lot. So, I'm sorry if this sounds redundant, but the Cajun Asian, which was awesome. It's exactly what it sounds like. Cajun and Asian thrown together. So, jambalaya egg rolls, fried rice etouffee. It was such a cool restaurant,
and not a gimmick either, because it's celebrating the Vietnamese history of the area as well, along with the obviously Creole cuisine.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark.
We appreciate you doing that. That's really, really kind. Also, thank you for always sending the likes and sharing. You always pop up, and I'm very, very thankful for that. Jason, someone does say one of your eyebrows is over trimmed.
Well,
so
this one, the hair is actually lighter here. It's a different color.
Hey, someone pointed out too. For you all are very observant, and I don't know if that speaks to us not being entertaining enough that you start wandering around and looking at like what's behind us. But someone noticed that our cabinet doors are two slightly different colors, and now it's driving us nuts. Like now I can't unsee it.
When you step back, it makes sense because all of the woodwork is slightly different, when it's supposed to work together. But when you look just at that image, you can tell it's
I can't unsee it now. I can't. We need to say hello to your dad.
Happy birthday, Ed.
Happy birthday, Ed. And my mom is here too. And she had a birthday 2 days ago. So I just want to say happy birthday to both of them. Boy, we really lucked out in the parent department. So we also, let's see, what do we have here? I guess I'm talking too loud. Apparently. I'm sorry. I don't know what.
The microphone is kind of pointed at you.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
How about that?
See, I didn't even know where the microphone was. So I wasn't here when all this got set up. I was playing 2 dots on my phone. Thoughts on the MLB lock? There's a lockout?
Yeah, you didn't know that?
No, I barely know. Look.
There's contract negotiations happening and they're not going so well.
Really?
Yeah, they've canceled some of the season already.
I did not know that.
Welcome to the world, Abby.
No, this is how I look.
We don't generally start watching baseball until about halfway through the season anyway. when it's well established how well the Cubs are doing, that's when we start kind of watching in general. So
Bree wants to know if we have any favorite New York State, I would assume campgrounds or any places in New York State. And this is where we have to say we haven't been.
We have not done
as RVers.
We have not done anything north of. We've done Virginia now. No, yeah.
I don't know where we've been.
Look at the map.
We've been
Yes, okay. we camped a couple nights in Virginia, so we haven't been anywhere northeast of Virginia. So we still have a whole lot to get to up there. So
yeah,
can't give you recommendations.
We like to see Broadway shows.
But there are lots of great people in this group, in this chat that might help you out.
If you have recommendations for New York, I'm trying to use my inside voice. Somebody wants to know, what are you doing?
I'm just turning that off.
Oh, okay.
There's too much on the screen.
It's too much. What's moving in the door window?
So
that's Henry.
Well, there are two things. Abby insisted the ceiling fan be on. So the ceiling fan is making a flickering.
It is?
Over here. Oh, yeah, big time. And then in the door window, you're seeing the reflection of the television that's up there because Henry is playing the Xbox.
Yes, Henry is playing Minecraft right now and enjoying just solo Xbox time while his tween and teen brother are away. It's very weird to call that we have a tween and a teen. That's very, very weird. Sarah, I'm so glad that we are spirit animals. I always appreciate meeting someone who gets it. And thank you so much for the nice comment too. So Let me go down here. Ooh, Georgia State Parks have laundry machines at the bathhouse.
We have not. We just crossed Georgia off our list before we got into Florida. It had long been a hole in the Southeast, and we just stayed at one campground in one town in Georgia on our way down here. So I'm looking forward to spending more time in Georgia. We're going to Savannah, going to check that out for a bit.
Why do, I'm assuming that means RV, make weird noises? It really freaks me out. If it's making a weird noise, you might want to have that looked at. But if your TV is making a weird noise, you should also have that looked at. Both things should be looked at. Will national parks experience a decline in visitors this summer due to fuel prices?
Could, for sure. It just depends. It depends on whether international travel really comes back this summer. That is something that's been missing for the last few years. So now that if people can start making international trips again, we get international visitors at the national parks, that's going to be an additional more people. But of course, fuel prices affect more than RVs and cars. They also affect airplanes and everything. Everything that moves is affected by fuel prices.
I think if our national parks are impacted, I think even some of our impacted parks will still be busy, because they're overly busy. Beyond busy.
Yeah.
And so, I think that what has been shared with us when it comes to travel right now with fuel prices is that a lot of these parks where we're talking about over visitation or large numbers of people, those people are still planning that trip. That trip is a lot of people saying, look, I've had this 6-week trip to Yellowstone, or I'm headed out to, Grand Tetons or Glacier or wherever. I've had this trip planned. I'm going to Alaska.
Or I've pushed this trip back twice now because of COVID. Yeah. I'm going now.
I'm going. And so I think those trips are going to happen. What I think might shift a little bit is the smaller trip where it was just for a weekend, or, we were going for a week to here, not the one where you have been planning and booking and saving and waiting. I think a lot of those will continue to happen. And I think then what will happen is it gets offset by canceling the weekend trip, maybe down the street. That's just kind of my personal opinion on it. You didn't stress us out about the tours. Not at all.
That was you. I remember.
Let's see. What's in your cup, Abby? Missing the metal straw.
It's just water tonight.
It's just water tonight. And in fact, it's probably going to be water for a very, very long time. I've got to make some health changes. And according to them, alcohol is not part of the program, which makes no sense. I don't understand it. So let's see. Someone says New York State parks are so underrated. Uh-oh.
I've heard that.
But didn't we just talk about New York State
New
parks?
York is adding two new state parks this year. They're putting a bunch of money into repairs for state parks this year as well.
Yeah. So, here, let me grab this one. Comments on inadequate penalty for last minute cancellations or no shows for timed entry reserved national park access.
I don't know what you do. It's hard to know what you do. Other than, I don't know what when you think about what the options are. I think
I don't know how you penalize someone for being a no show on their timed entry.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know how you do that.
Coming from somebody who I used to run a theater, and
I used to be on stage in the theater.
And when people would no show, they've paid. In that case, they've paid $150 for a pair of tickets or something like that. Mm-hmm. And often when they would no show, they would call the credit card company and get a chargeback pushed through. And because we didn't have a signature, because they didn't pick up their tickets, they bought them online in advance and didn't pick them up on the day of the show, we would often get kind of screwed by the credit card companies. And I can't imagine, like, if you give people a financial penalty for not using the reservation or whatever, that will fly with any of the credit card companies. So I don't know what to do. It's a challenge. I feel like they need to find some better ways of dealing with these challenges of getting people into the parks and in a reasonable way. And part of that is, let's make more national parks. I mean,
you get a national park. You get a national
there are
park.
places that, and unfortunately, it's silly that people look at that national park name as so meaningful when the place doesn't really change much. But there's 63 national parks. What if there were 100? I think that would help actually quite a bit without hurting any of the system. It might spread things around a bit and fix some of this stuff, because there are a lot of National Park Service sites that aren't the big 63 that are very undervisited and are every bit as beautiful.
Well, continuing the national park discussion, I'm not going to pretend like I'm going to be able to say that.
Assateague National Park. St. Island.
Yeah. They'd like to know if we are going. I don't have anything booked yet. So the whole trip to DC, Williamsburg, we just decided on that about 2 weeks ago. And we're going to be traveling with some friends. And so I was booking whatever I could get, which I would like to point out. And this was about 2 weeks ago. So this was kind of before, the gas prices really started to rise. I was able to book the most popular or the most widely recommended campground to go visit DC, Cherry Hill. I was able to book that for 9 days, 2 months out before I wanted to visit. And then we have a 9-day stay in Williamsburg over Memorial Day, which I just called them on Saturday and got that space.
We've been very lucky in general recently. I mean, Florida, we didn't really have much planned out other than this stay in Disney World, and we were able to string together everything pretty well. It hasn't been that bad, except for the fact that campground prices are really high right now, at least for private campgrounds.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of sticker shock when I called Cherry Hill or when I booked it online. And I would like to tell just a quick story too about, and I think we talked about this on the podcast, but after we were done boondocking, and this is again about just calling around, okay, and kind of looking in a radius of an area you want to stay. Don't just be fixated on this one spot, because we had been boondocking and we wanted to do a 1-night overnight to dump all our tanks before we headed on to our next campground. And I had called one campground that was about 5 miles from where we were camping. And even the woman on the phone was almost embarrassed to tell me how much it was going to be for that campsite for the night. I think it was going to be somewhere around $80, $85 for the night. And I said, even with the Good Sam discount? And she said, yes. And I said, okay, please don't be offended, but I'm going to call around and see if I can find something else. And she said, I don't blame you. And I called another place that was about another 10 miles down the road, 15 miles maybe total, half the price, $40 for the night. And I said to them on the phone, I was like, thank you. This is fantastic. Thank you for keeping rates reasonable, because 15 miles this way is another campground that tried to charge me $80 to stay there for the night. So I think sometimes it does pay a little bit to just kind of call around and look at a particular area you want to stay in. And, you might have to adjust your idea a little bit, but there's a huge savings to be found between, $80 a night in what I know was just going to be a back-end site cramped into an RV park, and $40 a night where we were cramped into an RV park.
And it was a better campground too. So
it ended up being, yes, it did. You want to grab that one?
Yeah. What do you use for wireless internet? So we don't use anything like a PepWave router because all three of our internet sources cannot the sims cannot be put into anything. So we carry Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. And I guess the T-Mobile comes through from a company called Travel Data, and they're great travel data. That's all it is. I think it's travel data dot page is their website, and it's unlimited T-Mobile. And there are lots of companies that do this secondhand unlimited stuff. But what we liked about them is that there's the upfront cost is very small, and you're not renting the router; they give you the router. And so some of those resellers, the upfront cost is very high, like $400, and you're renting the router and have to send it back. We have an AT&T plan that is no longer available to anybody, but that also has to be on its own little mobile router thingy. It's actually it's meant for CarPlay.
Probably shake that.
Yeah, it has to be shaken. Has to be shook every 2 hours.
Which one of us is going to do it though? Because we're both wearing sweatpants.
Oh gosh,
we're both in our
Henry.
We're like live stream on top and bedtime
can you
in the bottom. Yeah, can you go shake the Mobley, bud?
We also have two.
It's too great light.
Oh,
yeah, shake it anyway, though, so we don't want it to turn off.
Because it has like a vibration sensor in it, so that it knows to shut off when your car has stopped, because it's supposed to go into the OB2 port in your car. And then we have Verizon phones.
Yeah, so that's what. So I'm gonna just kind of jump down. I will grab this really quick because several people have chimed in about it. They asked about my hair and my journey to go silver, and I'll keep it really short. I got tired of coloring it. It's really hard to do on the road. I didn't like the way it looked, and I was just over it. And I just decided that this is the hair I was given, and that this is the hair that this is what my body wanted it to be. And I was like, whatever. And I do use a shampoo that's putting a slight blue tinge to it, because I like the idea of maybe turning it a little blue. So I'm slowly like letting the silver kind of take on some blue. But it was really just about not wanting to be anything other than what I am. And so I just let it go and officially cut it all off. So there's that. Somebody asked us about the saber, and I wanted to find it and I can't find it now. Oh, there's so many great.
Yeah, I think you've gone too far.
Do you think I have?
I don't think we've seen any of these.
Well, no, I mean, you haven't, but I have.
Okay.
So why don't you vamp for a second while I
look? Should I talk about your hair?
Oh, please.
How about you bring a different comment up, and I can respond to that while you look for the other one.
So someone said the answer to the refund is
right, but no refund. Yeah, but there's no. But the fee, the reservation fee for timed entry into the parks is like it's a $2 service fee. So that doesn't solve anything because people don't care about letting that go. So one solution is to charge people more money, but you have to charge them a lot of money then to really make it meaningful. And then you get into situations where you're like, now we're charging, people that might not be able to afford it, where they're already being charged to enter the park and all that sort of stuff.
So here's another one. So there's some conversation happening in the comments about the child tax. And someone asked, what's a child tax?
The child tax
you should handle that one,
when
I can't say nice things.
It's what us full-time families call it when a campground charges you a per person fee for more than 2 people. So, it's the campground is $45 a night plus $6 per person beyond 2. And, when we're a family of 5. So if we went to that campground that was $45 and then had to tack on another $18 a night, that adds up quite quickly. And there are a lot of campgrounds that do that. And, sometimes very few situations I can see it justified when you've got like big water parks and lots of amenities and stuff like that, that it's really a resort fee type deal. But more often than not, it's like, oh, you're using, $18 a night more water and sewage, and that's just not the case, right? So
like, we definitely aren't, especially with that composting toilet.
Often I think it's just a way for campgrounds to make a little bit more money, or sometimes it's a way to sort of discourage families in places that sort of cater a little bit more to adults only.
Yeah, and so we very rarely stay anywhere that has the child tax, only if we absolutely have no choice whatsoever. But again, it serves to just call around. You see that and it gets really expensive really fast. Well, you call 5 miles down the road.
And we've been surprised by it too, where we've booked something and then we arrive and they have it.
Yeah, that's sneaky and I don't like that.
And it's wrong. But it's not like, going to a restaurant or something where you just go to the next restaurant. You've driven a couple hundred miles to get here, right?
So you're kind of, you're a little bit stuck.
Yeah.
Here's an RV question. Do you have a short bed with a gooseneck? We have a slider hitch, but it usurps the back of the truck, and we are thinking of a change, worried about the articulation and maneuvering.
So we use the Anderson hitch attached to a goose ball in the bed. And it does take a decent amount of space in the truck, but you can kind of like lay stuff right on it, which is cool. And it has a little bit of, you can sort of flip the coupler around to give you a little more space, or few more inches or a few less inches. So we have a Ford short bed. And
let's not talk about trucks, please. I can't talk about this truck anymore.
I think Ford and Chevy, I think they have the same length short bed, and Ram's is about 6 inches shorter. So I would be a little leery with the Ram to use the Anderson hitch, but I think plenty of people have done it. But a lot of it depends on the front cap of your fifth wheel. It's just kind of wherever they place the pin box and the shape of that particular fifth wheel. So it's for us, actually, before we bought this trailer, and partnered with Sabre on it, we went into like the Facebook groups for this particular model and talked to people about what hitch they use and stuff, so that we could make sure that we would have the proper clearances that we needed.
Yeah. So this is the question I was looking for. How is your fifth wheel doing? Are you still happy you got a Sabre? I'm looking into getting one.
Sorry, go ahead. My cough is just...
Take that. We're very happy with our Sabre. So we've had it officially now for almost 7 months. And for our season of life and our season of travel right now, this has been a really fantastic fifth wheel for us. Specifically, that front living space. We can't talk enough about that front living space. And then also, when we first walked in and we're sitting right now at the breakfast bar, and we knew finally we have a space that we could get some depth, we could sit down at, and we could have some control over our environment for filming, because that was always really difficult. It was difficult in some of the other fifth wheels we looked at, especially when they have like the front bunk and then the master up here, because we just couldn't have anywhere we could do our job and have a little bit more control over sound and, things like that.
And what I really like about Sabre, and, be completely honest, we're brand ambassadors. They put us into this one, right?
Yeah.
So everything we say is because we work with them, but also our true thoughts and beliefs about it.
But we also specifically chose this layout.
Yes.
We were given
we chose Sabre too,
yes,
among Forest River brands.
Yes.
And one of the things that I was really impressed with when we visited the Sabre factory, and now living in it now sort of backs this up a bit, is that they only make 5 floor plans. I actually think one of the 5 might be on a hiatus, so it might only be 4. But I think they only make 5 floor plans. And, some brands, they make 30, and it's all one factory where they just make these 5 floor plans, and the workers are really dedicated on working on just those 5. They know what they're doing every day. The floor plans are actually, the outside portions are fairly similar, all that sort of stuff. So what I have noticed from like the Facebook groups for Sabre, and there's one particularly for the Sabre 37 FLL that we're in, is that people have some of the same problems that everybody has with RVs. A little, they're handmade things, little things happen on all of them. But I have seen very few to none major problems, and I think that speaks volumes to what they're doing at the Sabre plant.
Yeah, and just from a living standpoint, I think from a towing standpoint, and one of the things that we like a lot about it is that it's not super heavy. The most it weighs is 15,000 pounds for a fifth wheel. That was kind of what we were comfortable with coming from a travel trailer. But I really like this particular layout. I like the kitchen. This is the biggest kitchen this is the biggest kitchen we've ever had.
This is bigger than our apartment kitchen.
This is bigger than our apartment kitchen. I mean, it's crazy to be able to say that, but it's the truth. And so those are just living things that we really needed to be a little bit more comfortable full-time on the road. And so far those things are performing exactly as we had hoped that they would perform. This is a question here, and we talked a little bit about this, but that the system, is broken. And we're going back to talking about campgrounds again, especially, and Army Corps of Engineers are reserved through recreation.gov. Now, I happen to think recreation.gov has one of the better reservation sites out there for looking at what's available and being able to see it laid out in a way that shows weeks at a time, either from a map perspective or a list perspective. And so, but I understand that sentiment that, and we've talked a lot about this, people go in and they book up all that they want. And because it's so cheap to drop or no show, they're not concerned.
Yeah. So when the reservation window opens up at the beginning of the year, somebody in that local area, they book every single weekend in the summer. And then they don't know yet. They haven't asked for time off of their job or whatever it is. And then later on, they come back and maybe cancel some, or maybe they don't, or they cancel them the few days before. And that's a real problem. And the cancellation fees, there's some state park systems that are experimenting with this, where they're like, the closer you get, the higher the cancellation fee is. And like, if you cancel within 2 weeks, you get no money back at all, which, I mean, some people are paying half price for Army Corps of Engineers. They're paying like $15 a night. So it's still not that high, but that helps a bit, I think.
John wants to know what's our favorite national park. You go while I think.
I think I'm going to be stereotypical and be Yellowstone.
I knew you were going to.
Yellowstone. I didn't expect it.
So basic.
I wanted to go to Yellowstone forever, but I wasn't expecting it to be my favorite place, and I was just blown away. I love Yellowstone.
Yeah. I would have to say I think that mine is Zion. That, for a lot of reasons, the park itself is spectacular, but also just for some of the memories it holds for us. But those are, and yet at the same time, I don't know. I mean, as a state as a whole, I would say my favorite national park is New Mexico because the amount of monuments and national parks, just the state itself is so rich with places to visit, and we are I love that state, and it's almost a national park itself.
Is it Sabre or Sabre? Our Sabre's name is Sabre.
It's Sabre the Sabre. It is actually called Sabre. We've named it Sabre.
Well, my phone was on the audio interface. I hope there hasn't been like weird glitchy things happening with the audio, but if there has, that's why.
Wow.
That was a rookie mistake.
So embarrassing. We might as well just end this live now. Well, I can't even go on. But we call it Sabre as to pay homage, I guess, to The Office. We're huge The Office fans. And when Dunder Mifflin was bought out. They were bought by a company named Sabre, but everyone thought it was pronounced Sabre. And they even wrote a song and they used Sabre in the song. And so that's why we call it Sabre the Sabre.
Looking at the 37 FLH, do we feel the insulation is good enough? The insulation is fine. We were in some pretty cold temperatures in this thing, and with the furnace on, we did blow through a lot of propane, but nothing froze up, in the 5-degree area. However, our model, and I'm not sure about the FLH, but our model has a ton of windows, which is one of the things that we love about it. But that is where a lot of the heating gets let out. So we did cover all of our windows with, that 3M plastic film, and that actually helped quite a bit.
That helped so much, and it was really inexpensive, and it also allowed sunlight to still come through, which I think is really, really important when you're winter camping. You still need to get some sunlight in your house. So, we were really surprised. Now, we did move out of it when it got into when it started dipping down, like close to single digits.
We had family to stay with nearby, and it was not financially feasible to use all the propane anymore.
Well, and also we just felt that it made better sense for the RV too.
Yeah,
like we could winterize it, and
we could have skirted and things like that, and been fine,
sure, we could have done all of that stuff and would have been totally fine. But because we weren't going to be stationary, we were only going to be a couple more weeks, it didn't make sense for us to, put in that kind of financial effort. Someone was asking, can you search your shows for region or location?
I wish I would love, we're thinking about trying to figure out how to do that sort of functionality on the website.
No, I will say though, if you go to rvmiles.com and you do use search, and let's say you want to go to White Sands, or you want to go to Voyageurs National Park, or St. Louis, or Chicago, those keywords will pull up past podcast episodes.
Yeah. And you can also come into the Facebook group and just ask us, or send us a message and ask us if we've done one.
But we
on a
are
certain area.
Trying to figure out a way to catalog.
I'd like to put them on a map, like you could see.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That'd be cool.
I mean, because we're at 227 episodes now, so even for us, sometimes it's really hard to remember. But usually if you can just search, and that's how I actually do it when I'm looking for stuff we've talked about in the past. I search a keyword search, and I can usually find it.
Greg says there's lots of construction this year at Yellowstone and Grand Tetons.
We heard
there's lots of construction when we were at Yellowstone too. But yeah, it's that way at a lot of national parks this year and state parks. I think somebody mentioned it in the comments earlier that a lot of that funding from the Great American Outdoors Act and the infrastructure bill, there's been a lot of funding that has been set aside specifically for national and state parks and other outdoor recreation land. And there's a lot of money going into repairing a lot of stuff that needs repaired, but we're going to be dealing with a lot of construction this year on roads and bathhouses and bridges and that kind of stuff that really needs to be done in some of these National Park Service sites.
Here we go. Do you think RVing is going to level off or still get busier? Boy, that's the question on everybody's mind. And the industry was very confident 4 or 5 days ago.
Yeah,
I don't know if they still are. And
I mean, I don't. The only thing that I see leveling it off right now is fuel prices.
Yeah,
fuel. This Russia-Ukraine conflict could be resolved in a few days, and we go back to the fuel prices that we had 2 weeks ago. Then I think it gets busier. If this thing drags on and it gets worse, or even stays where it's at, I think there's going to be a little bit of a reduction. Whether that just means people don't go as far, I don't know.
I think it's really hard to say right now because it's only March. And for a lot of people, camping season hasn't started yet. So we're from a fuel standpoint, we're trying to talk about what's it going to look like in 2 months, really. Really camping season, sort of the big kickoff is Memorial Day weekend. And so we're trying to kind of look at what is it going to look like in 10 weeks? And I think we've all come to learn, we can share the information as it comes, and the industry is confident that they're going to build over. I think they think they're going to go higher than what they did last year. So they're going to produce over 600,000
No, it's
units.
that was in the news video this week. They've dialed that back a little bit. They think they're going to be a little bit less than last year.
Guess I should have watched the news video.
And then there's supposed to be a lot of campsites built this year, something like 80,000 campsites built this year. But, part of what you have to remember is the same number of people that owned RVs last year already own them. So if nobody buys another RV right now, the same number of people have them as had last year. And they have, they already own pickup trucks, and 90% of RVs sold are travel trailers. So I think, it's just not very cut and dry, because it's a weird, as I talked in depth about in this news video the other day, it's such a weird economy where fuel prices are getting insane, inflation is getting insane, but the stock market is still doing very well. Unemployment is very low, and people are still sitting, believe it or not. I've seen this stat several times that they're sitting on a lot of that money from the stimuluses that is still available to them for down payments on things like this. But people are holding that because there's a lot of concern about the economy because it's so wacky right now. So holding on to it is a sign that they're not going to sell much. So
just a second, bud. Okay, you need some water. Okay, I'll be right there.
So it could, anything could happen. It's going to be a roller coaster ride of some sort this year.
So Norris, the best way to contact us would be editor@rvmiles.com, and that'll go right to our inbox, and we will do our very best if we can to answer any questions that you might have. And then we have a question about camping parking your RV at White Sands.
Yeah, you can actually drive it. The parking lot at the visitor center is not very big. So, but you can bring an RV in there. You can bring big rigs in there. There's just not room for that many in there. But then actually going, if you're not even stopping at the visitor center, actually going into White Sands, the road is sand, but it is very, very hard and compact. They run a plow down that road that is way heavier than any RV. And you can drive all the way back in there, and there's giant picnic areas with lots of room to park back in there. You cannot camp in an RV overnight in White Sands. There's a little bit of boondocking nearby, but there's not RV camping in White Sands.
There's also a really great state park.
Alamogordo.
Oliver
Lee State Park in Alamogordo.
Oliver Lee is a really awesome state park. Greg was asking, what 3M plastic do you use? So I'm not quite sure. I don't remember exactly the name of it, but if you just go to amazon.com/shop/RV Miles, that's our store. And I did create a winter camping list, and I put in the one that we bought, and it's 3M, and it was enough. That particular one did all 18 of the windows we have in here.
Yeah, it was a big roll of it.
Yeah.
It comes in the little boxes at the hardware store.
Yeah.
That you can do for like 2-3 windows, but we just bought a big roll of it that we could cut for each, because there's like.
But this one
windows.
this one that I did put into the Amazon store is already cut, but it's like tons of them, and so in the future, that's the one I will order, because cutting it actually was a real PETA, and I do not want to.
A lot of people asked us how easy they wanted us to update how easy it was to come off when we took it off, and we did take it all off. Came off very easily. We kept the tape to just the silver or the metal frame of the windows.
Yeah, just peeled right off. It was
no residue on any of them. Or anything
and that's what we'll do going forward, because it's most likely we'll be doing something similar again this year. So another question: do you use showers outside the parks and your own rig? If so, where are your favorite places to find showers?
So here's a little secret that's fun if you've got a family, especially. Swim schools. Swim schools often have like a sometimes they have like a daytime family swim for like $10 for like a whole family, and you can go swim for an hour and a half and then use their showers, or use their showers before. If you're really dirty, probably you're supposed to shower before you enter a pool, right? So that's a little secret we found. But yeah, we use our rig most of the time, even when we're boondocking. We just
but also
take quick showers.
Some gyms can be a really great resource. Like you can buy a $5 day membership to just come in and be able to use the gym. I think like Planet Fitness might do that, or one of the major chains. And so then you would just pay that day rate and you can get a workout in, but then you can also use the shower, sometimes even local, depending on the time of year, local pools. Mm-hmm. We were at we did one at a hot springs once, and then we used the showers afterwards. This was back when we were in the bus, but a lot of times right now yes, hon, I know you need some water.
If you fill up at truck stops, often you'll get a shower for filling up so much. They often give truckers showers as an incentive to fuel there. And sometimes they have extra ones because they're not using them. Like they're staying in the hotel. So often truckers are around and they'll give you one. But some of those truck stop showers are really nice. Like they clean them between every use and everything. Some of them are not so nice, but some of them are very, very nice.
So friends, it is 10 o'clock our time, and our tween and teen have not returned.
Oh, you're getting worried, aren't you?
Well, I'm not so much getting worried as it's becoming quiet time in the park.
And yeah, so there's 80 families here. That's a pipe dream.
Well, I would like for us to not be a part of the wildness. But it is 10 o'clock. Henry is needing some water. I refuse to get up and be seen in my pajamas.
You're just wearing normal sweatpants.
They're just normal. So there's nothing.
You walk around the campground in those.
I do. I'm just trying to have a level of class here. Someone said this looks like a news setup. I mean, seriously, I'm trying to keep it classy. Not classy with a K, but classy with a C. Also, Jason has made me join Wordle. I am so angry at him. I don't know why that made me think about it. But now every morning we have to have a competition. See who does better for the day. So that's how we start every single day. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This was really nice to come back to this because this is really the only opportunity we get to speak to all of you in real time. And often we're just talking to this camera or this microphone and hoping that it makes a connection with you when you get a chance to watch or to listen. So thank you for taking time tonight to spend time with us. This was really, really nice.
We'll do it again in a month.
Yeah, first Monday of the month. Somebody hold us to that, please. Okay, somebody out there, remind us.
Mike and Mickey are going to do that.
Sure. They are. We're in trouble now. Like daily reminders. So
thanks so much, Brendan. We really appreciate this super sticker.
Yeah, thanks. That's really kind. So, all right. You all have a really wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you next month. But we also look forward to seeing you in other ways before that.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Night.